The final day of filming is usually loud. There are hugs, group photos, flowers, speeches, and a sense of release after weeks or months of pressure. For Dylan Wang and Shen Yue, the wrap of their new show followed that familiar pattern, until it didn't. Long after the cameras stopped rolling and most of the cast had gone their separate ways, something unexpected happened. No official wrap dinner was announced. No social media posts appeared. No celebratory photos were shared by the production team. Instead, later that evening, a quiet sighting began circulating among fans. Dylan Wang and Shen Yue were spotted together at his father's restaurant. At first, the information came from a single fan account. A short post. No photos attached. Just a simple description: late evening, low-key atmosphere, two familiar figures sitting in a private corner of a family-run restaurant. Within minutes, fans began connecting the dots. The location wasn't random. This wasn't a public hotspot or a place celebrities typically choose when they want attention. It was personal. According to those who were there, Dylan arrived first. He wasn't dressed like an actor fresh off a rap party. No flashy accessories. No entourage. Just casual clothes, a cap pulled low, the kind of look someone wears when they want to blend in rather than stand out. A short time later, Shen Yue arrived quietly, greeted politely by staff who clearly already knew who she was. There were no dramatic gestures, no exaggerated laughter, no attempts to hide behind sunglasses indoors. They sat across from each other, speaking softly, leaning in just enough to hear without raising their voices. To anyone watching closely, it didn't look like two co-stars celebrating the end of a project. It looked like two people decompressing after something intense, choosing comfort over noise. What caught people's attention wasn't just that they were together, but where they chose to go. Dylan's father's restaurant isn't just a business, it's tied to his roots, his upbringing, and his sense of normalcy outside the industry. Bringing someone there isn't about publicity. It's about trust. Staff later shared that the atmosphere was calm. No filming. No interruptions. They ordered simple dishes, not the kind you choose to impress, but the kind you eat when you want to feel grounded. At one point, Dylan was seen explaining something about a dish, smiling slightly as Shen Yue listened with genuine interest. It wasn't performative. It wasn't rushed. For fans, this raised questions that went beyond the usual post-rap hangout. Why not a cast dinner? Why not invite more people? Why choose such a personal place on such a quiet night right after finishing a major project together? Those who followed their work closely already knew that the filming process hadn't been easy. Long hours, emotionally demanding scenes, and a schedule that pushed everyone to their limits. On set, Dylan and Shen Yue had developed a reputation for being focused, professional, and quietly supportive of each other. No loud fan service. No exaggerated behind-the-scenes content. Just consistency. That consistency is what made the restaurant sighting feel different. Fans began revisiting old interviews, moments from set, small interactions that had once seemed insignificant. The way Dylan would wait for Shen Yue before group movements. The way Shen Yue would glance at him before responding during press events. The shared silences that felt comfortable rather than awkward. This wasn't about a single dinner. It was about timing, location, and choice. Choosing to go somewhere tied to family immediately after wrapping a project that had clearly meant a lot to both of them sent a message, whether intentional or not. It suggested that whatever they shared during filming didn't simply end when the director called cut. As the night went on, there were no dramatic exits. No separate departures meant to avoid suspicion. They left calmly, within minutes of each other, thanking the staff before stepping back into the quiet. By the next morning, the story had spread everywhere. Still, neither Dylan nor Shen Yue addressed it. No denial. No clarification. No playful deflection. Just silence. And for fans, that silence spoke louder than any statement could. The silence that followed only deepened the intrigue. In an industry where even the smallest interaction is often clarified, denied, or carefully reframed, Dylan Wang and Shen Yue's decision to say nothing felt deliberate. Fans weren't used to that. Usually, rumors are met with quick explanations, just colleagues, group gathering, staff dinner. But this time, there was no correction, no casual laugh in an interview, no social media post to steer the narrative elsewhere. Instead, the story grew on its own. Fans began reaching out to others who had been near the restaurant that night. More details surfaced, not dramatic ones, but quiet, human ones. Someone mentioned that Dylan seemed unusually relaxed, the kind of calm that comes after finally setting down a heavy burden. Another noticed that Shen Yue laughed softly at something he said, covering her mouth out of habit, not to hide, but out of shyness. These weren't moments meant for an audience. They were moments that happened because no one thought anyone was watching. What struck people most was how normal it all felt. There was no sense of celebration tied to success or ratings. No visible relief that filming was finally over. Instead, it felt like reflection. Like two people sitting with the weight of what they had just finished, processing it together in a space that didn't demand performance. Those who know Dylan's relationship with his family understood the significance immediately. He's spoken before about how grounding his family is, how returning to familiar places helps him reset when work becomes overwhelming. Inviting someone into that space, especially at such a vulnerable moment right after wrapping a project, wasn't casual. It was intentional. As the days passed, fans noticed something else. Dylan's public schedule slowed. Shen Yue declined a few appearances she had been rumored to attend. There was no sudden burst of post-show promotion from either of them. It was as if both had quietly stepped back, choosing rest over noise. Online, discussions shifted. Instead of asking, "Are they dating?" people began asking different questions. What did this project mean to them? Why does their bond feel deeper than usual co-stars? Why does this feel less like a rumor and more like a continuation? Some fans pointed out how, during filming, Dylan and Shen Yue often gravitated toward each other during breaks, not in obvious ways, but in small ones. Sitting nearby, sharing water bottles when staff weren't around, walking at the same pace without planning it. Things that don't register unless you're paying close attention. The restaurant night reframed all of that. It wasn't proof of anything, but it was context. Industry insiders began weighing in carefully, using words like comfortable, trusted, and emotionally aligned. No one claimed a relationship. No one needed to. The tone was different this time. Less speculative, more reflective. Because if this were just about romance, it would have burned out quickly. Instead, it lingered. Fans started calling it the quiet ending that didn't feel like an ending. The idea that while the show had wrapped, something between Dylan and Shen Yue hadn't. That whatever connection they built didn't switch off when the camera stopped. And maybe that's why the story resonated so deeply. There was no scandal, no dramatic reveal. Just two people choosing a quiet place, tied to family and familiarity, to sit with each other after something meaningful had ended. In a world obsessed with announcements and confirmations, Dylan Wang and Shen Yue offered something else entirely. A moment that didn't ask to be seen, but once noticed, couldn't be forgotten. As weeks passed, the story refused to fade the way most rap night rumors do. Instead of exploding and burning out, it settled into something quieter, something that stayed with people. Fans weren't refreshing for breaking news anymore. They were revisiting old footage, old interviews, and behind-the-scenes clips with new eyes. Moments that once felt ordinary now carried weight. One clip in particular resurfaced. During a late-night shoot, both Dylan and Shen Yue looked exhausted. The director called for a short break. Without speaking, Dylan handed Shen Yue a warm drink. No cameras were meant to catch it. No one reacted. It was simple, instinctive. At the time, it passed unnoticed. Now, fans paused the video, replayed it, and understood why the restaurant sighting felt so natural. Because this wasn't sudden. Another staff member anonymously shared that on difficult days, when scenes ran long or emotions ran high, Dylan and Shen Yue had a habit of checking in on each other without drawing attention. A quick question, a nod, a moment of shared understanding that didn't require explanation. It wasn't the loud camaraderie of co-stars trying to sell chemistry. It was the quiet kind that forms when two people experience pressure in the same way. That's why the dinner mattered. Not because it confirmed anything, but because it fit. Around the same time, Dylan posted a photo of a late-night street, captioned with a single word that translated loosely to settling. Shen Yue shared a picture of a handwritten note. No context, no explanation. Fans noticed the timing. They noticed the mood. Both posts felt reflective, grounded, almost introspective. Still, nothing was said. No teasing, no playful hints, no denial. The lack of performance became the point. Industry watchers noted how rare that was. Most on-screen pairings lean into speculation to keep attention alive. Dylan and Shen Yue did the opposite. They didn't feed it. They didn't shut it down. They let it exist quietly, the same way they had that night at the restaurant. Some fans began to suggest that whatever they shared didn't need validation, that it wasn't built for public consumption, that maybe, after months of living inside characters and emotions, they had chosen something real and steady to hold on to instead. Others believed it was simply a deep friendship, strengthened by shared experience. And even those voices agreed on one thing: the bond was genuine. Because you don't go to someone's family space after a long, draining project unless you feel safe there. You don't choose quiet unless noise no longer serves you. And you don't let a story like this breathe unless you're comfortable with what it says about you. Whether the world ever gets an answer no longer feels like the point. What remains is the image of that night. Two people, no cameras, no obligations, sitting in a place tied to home, allowing the end of one chapter to soften rather than snap. For fans, that's enough. Because sometimes the most meaningful stories aren't confirmed by words. They're confirmed by where people choose to go. When they think no one is watching.